This video is not intended for children, as many mature themes are discussed throughout. Viewer discretion is advised. Comic dubs are a niche genre on YouTube that is dominated by absurdly sexualized content. This content is low effort, AI using, content farm slop that is made for the sole purpose of making as much money as possible. These creators are producing large amounts of videos using other artists' artwork from sites like Twitter or Newgrounds, adding AI voices over it, and doing simple frame-changing edits. This content is going unchecked by YouTube even though it is breaking numerous YouTube guidelines, including the use of children in a sexual manner, generalized sexual content, reusing content, and the use of such content to promote off-site NSFW sites that are locked behind a paywall. Our investigation into these channels made clear that these channels are hiding behind a veil that was nearly impossible to penetrate. However, we worked to break down this wall and expose the absolute absurdity that these channels were hiding. Firstly, I think it's important to explain what a content farm even is. A content farm is a type of content that is low effort and can be easily produced, with the ultimate goal of making large amounts of easy money. This phenomenon has nothing to do to YouTube or to the internet as a whole. There are plenty of soulless content farms sprawled across the internet, and many of them reside on YouTube so that they can take advantage of YouTube's AdSense program. Channels in the comic dub genre in particular are doing all of these things and using sexual content to bolster their popularity, as many of these channels use R34 comics as the base for their videos. Every comment on these videos mentions the absurdity of these channels, and how it is just softcore porn. Some channels try to hide their sexual innuendos, however, others are much more blatant, using all the porn from the comic and simply extracting all the nudity. Later, we will discuss the use of sexual content in more depth. However, the first thing we want to discuss is the content farm aspect of these channels. In our research, we found many discrepancies within these channels that led us to believe that they are in fact a content farm. The first thing that stuck out was the creation date of these channels. While not all the biggest names in the genre were made around the same time, most of them seemed to be made in batches, as they would make 2 or 3 within the span of weeks. Furthermore, most of the most popular channels within the genre were either created in 2022, in 2023, or early 2024. There are many theories we had for why they were making so many channels, and we questioned if these channels were even run by the same person. Firstly, these channels are most likely making different channels to re-upload the same video and skirt the YouTube guideline that prohibits creators from uploading the same video over and over. This would drastically lower the amount of work that would go into making content for a particular day or week. Just for example, it's much easier to make one video for a week to put on 3 different channels than it is to make 3 different videos. Secondly, we could never confirm whether these channels were ran by the same person. 2 channels had undeniable proof that they were ran by the same creator, those channels being Banana Comics and Choco Comics. The proof for these being ran by the same person came from the contact email they used in the description, this email being gannymananti@gmail.com. During research, we ran into many problems trying to contact any of these creators. We tried emailing them, messaging them on Telegram, and even buying a Patreon subscription that promised to chat with the creator. None of these attempts worked. If there are multiple creators, they are keeping everything close to their chest. And if there was one creator, this would make much more sense as they would have more control over what was being put out. Another interesting idea is that these channels had absolutely no connection to one another. The channel descriptions claimed to be from various different countries, including the United States, India, Spain, etc. Maybe these channels had no connection to one another, and different individuals who just saw the success and money they could earn by easily producing this content all jumped on this trend seeking an opportunity. This theory, however, makes it unclear how there are so many channels using the same video as one another. Our last theory is that all these theories are somewhat correct. Perhaps there are many different individuals setting up 2 or more accounts at the same time and cross-posting their videos in an effort to get as many clicks off the same piece of content. No matter which theory is true, these channels are still all a content farm. We also want to take a deeper look at the videos themselves. The videos are cheaply produced, and here's how I imagine it works. Firstly, the owner of the channel will go on Twitter and find a comic. Next, they'll take the text from the comic and put it into a speech generator. They'll then go into an editing software, crop the panels, overlay the speaking from the generator, and roughly create a story from it. Interestingly, many owners of these channels felt the need to describe this process in the description of their channels. Why they do this is unknown to me. I can only imagine they asked ChatGPT for a channel description, and this is exactly what was given. This strange and incoherentness was a pattern throughout the investigation of these channels. Never did they feel as if a real human was behind them. They felt like every aspect of the process was done by AI, excluding the editing maybe. I find the whole thing so strange, and the only other explanation I can think of is that these channels have no concept of how English-speaking channels work, so they include this weird, long, step-by-step process on how they create their videos because they think it is necessary for English-speaking channels. This would also indicate that these channels were not English-speaking and were in fact being deceptive. I have found some proof for this theory, as many of these channels seem to be from India, Eastern European countries, etc. I'm not exactly sure about all of this, but I do know that these channels are using the cheapest and fastest methods to produce their content by using copious amounts of AI to assist them. Some channels even try to play off this aspect, such as Mayu Comics, who did this absurd introduction video that I'll show now.
Hey there, welcome to Mayu Comic. I am Maria, and also I'm the female voice artist of this channel.
Hey, I'm the male voice artist for the channel, and together with Maria, we bring your favorite comics to life.
We're all about dubbing comics, adding our voices to create fun, engaging stories, and even some animated scenes.
Every week, we bring you something new from hilarious moments to epic adventures.
So, if you love comics, voice acting, and a little bit of fun,
hit that subscribe button and join us on Mayu Comic.
I'm not exactly sure who would fall for this or why they would want someone to fall for this, but it is absolutely so absurd, just like every other aspect about these channels. I've spoken throughout this video about how these channels use sexual content as a vehicle for clicks. However, I want to look at this aspect more in depth. This use of sexual content in itself goes against YouTube terms of service. Although they aren't directly showing nudity or sexual acts, they're using comics that directly show these things and extracting the bits of nudity in them. Some of these creators directly just dub over the original comics and keep in all the sexual themes. However, others change around the words and panels of the comics to make it comedic in a way. However, the channels share a similarity, and the sorts of thumbnails that they use is every single thumbnail hints at a sexual theme. No matter which category the video falls into, these videos are not acceptable for YouTube, as YouTube has a policy that states, explicit content meant to be sexually gratifying is not allowed on YouTube. Posting pornography may result in content removal or channel termination. Videos containing fetish content will be removed or age restricted. These comic dubs could fall into any of these three categories, but they do not seem to have suffered any of the consequences stated above. And there is only one thing that can make this entire phenomenon worse: the use of children. However, these channels seem to be doing this in spades. Every other video by channels like Boogie Woogie Comics, Clomnus, Rulenator, Loran, Mayu Comics, Banana Comics, and countless other channels sexually exploit child characters. Some of the youngest examples include Nezuko from Demon Slayer, who was only 13, Violet from The Incredibles, who was only 14, Gwen from Ben 10, who was only 10 years old, and Mabel from Gravity Falls, who was only 12 during the time of the show. You might think this is cherry-picking examples, but no, there are countless other examples of child characters being used in sexual ways. You may have the instinct reaction to blame the artists who are drawing these comics in the first place. And yes, these artists are in the wrong, but in some ways the comic dub channels are even worse, as they target these comics at younger audiences by uploading them to YouTube, while the original creators leave them on sites like Twitter. This does not excuse the artists drawing explicit comics of children. However, this video is not about that. We are only focusing on the YouTube aspect of these comics. So again, both the creators of the comics and the channels that steal them and dub over them are horrible and exploit child characters for profit, and this is completely unacceptable. Lastly, I want to discuss what should be done with these channels. Personally, I think every single one of these channels should be banned for their part in perpetuating the use of children in sexual situations. However, even if someone wanted to argue that these were just jokes, shouldn't they at least be age restricted to some degree? If they were truly just adult humor, then the channels wouldn't mind putting age restrictions on their channels, would they? I don't see this happening, however, because these channels are made with the sole intention of making as much money as possible, and putting age restriction on your videos only decreases the amount of money earned from each video. YouTube has banned channels for much less before. My last video in which I brought up this same topic was taken down for violating YouTube's TOS against showing inappropriate content to children. So why can't these channels have the same consequences? The only thing I can hope for is that YouTube will finally do something about this issue. At the end of my videos, I like to go on a kind of a rant, kind of an unscripted rant, and just talk about a couple things. In our last video, we included Teleperte. If you haven't seen the video yet, it's going to be linked below. But we included Teleperte, who's like a animation creator, I'm sorry. And this was kind of a misstep. The video was about content farms and degenerate animators and stuff, and I don't think Teleperte kind of falls into either of those categories. Some of the comments kind of pointed this out. So I'm sorry about including that. And there was another Well, there was a few other comments that were kind of I didn't like, and I don't want to like attack any the individual comment in particular, but there was a comment that was talking about ads on YouTube, and I do agree that the ads on YouTube are actually insane. Some of the ads I've seen are softcore porn, genuinely, and we may do a video about this in the future, but I don't see the point of bringing that up in kind of a defense of the other channels that we discussed, because in the video we discussed Sexually Ruined, who's like and we discussed comic dubs, not in the same depth, but we discussed them. So I don't see the point of bringing that up. I don't want to attack anybody individually, so I'm not going to show the comment, or I'm not going to ask you to go look for the comment or anything, but, and if you feel like doing that in this comment section, please don't. If you see something on YouTube that should be pointed out, let us know, and we might make a video on it, but don't try to defend what we're talking about in one video to attack the other. And I didn't want to include the specific channels who were making these videos. I don't want to mention them a lot. There's a lot of them for one, and for two, I didn't feel like including a lot of these channels because I'm assuming that a lot of these channels are ran by like 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds who are just trying to make money, and a lot of them are from like India or like Eastern European countries or whatever. Maybe just trying to make some money. Maybe there's not that many opportunities around them, but I feel like you shouldn't attack these channels, but I feel like they should definitely be taken down. I feel like they get attacked enough in their comments. You should go report them if you want to, but don't go attack them, and because not only it looks bad on us, it'll get our video taken down. So please don't. But I do thank you for watching. If you have anything else that you would like us to cover, and that's in this sort of degenerate, weird content farm, animation, art, it doesn't have to be anything. It could be children's content or whatever. I like covering this stuff. It's very interesting to me. And if you would like a part 2 to this video, I think there's a lot more that we could go in depth with, especially if we can ever get in contact with any of these people. And I do think it's possible. I just wasn't able to do it yet. I did try a lot, and I could try a little harder to get in contact with some people and kind of get an interview maybe. But if you like this content, please do like and subscribe, and it helps a lot. And I just thank you for watching it all. Thank you.
You're not alone.